All right, welcome to the first lesson in the Happier course. So, hopefully, you already watched the introduction and you know all about why this book had such an impact on our life and really did work for us in living a happier life. I'm going to get right into it to keep these lessons fairly quick. Big question of happiness. What is happiness? I like the Albert Einstein quote, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. And I like that because we really try and be the Hero Academy to share the idea that obstacles are opportunities. Everything that happens bad in your life is a chance to discover more happiness, more joy, more fulfillment, better connection. So, real quick, the backstory in chapter 1 of Tal Ben Shahar is that at age 16, he wins the Israeli National Squash Championship. And he'd think that after 5 years of hard work and pain and sacrifice, that he would be so happy. And while he was happy for a little while, he noticed that it went right back into this feeling of emptiness, and how his logical mind would say naturally winning should lead to fulfillment, fulfillment should lead to happiness, but that wasn't the case. So, real quick, get out your journal if you have it, or your worksheets, and just do a quick time in. Pause for just a second and start thinking first. Do you have that where there's like personal experiences that you reached a certain milestone and it didn't bring you the emotional payoff you expected? Like I talked about a little bit in the introduction, that's exactly what happened for me. Is I was always a straight A student, got full rides for college, opened my own business at 20 years old. Like I was always success driven, achievement driven, moving to the next thing. But it just got to a point where it felt like, yeah, it's great. I have this beautiful house and I have this family and I have these kids and it's so great, but it doesn't feel fulfilling. And that's a big reason we ended up in this lifestyle of seeking new adventures and just new travel destinations, is that feeling for us of trying to expand our perception, expand our awareness, discover new things, that just these milestones of success and achievement didn't always, sometimes they did, but they didn't always give the emotional payoff that we expected. So go ahead and hit pause real quick and do a quick time in journal prompt about what things for you have also caused that same lack of emotional fulfillment. Awesome. Okay, so the question Tal Ben Shahar asked himself was, how could I find lasting happiness? So he observed happy people. He studied and read philosophers like Aristotle, Confucius, other ancient philosophy. He read texts on how to see life through a new lens and surrounded himself, or he was surrounded by his classmates. I think this was during his college years, and he just saw that all the people around him are stressed out. Now, do you find that? Do you find that everyone around you is stressed out? Are you stressed out? Do you catch that being stressed out is the new norm? It seems like, and he discovered this too, but I back it, it just seems like most people accept their poor emotional predicament as the inevitable price of success. That's just what it's like to be today, to be stressed out. It is normal. And so he started asking, like, is it possible to be successful and happy? Can you be ambitious and be happy? What is happiness? Okay, so he started really working on trying to come up with a framework for what is happiness. Is it an emotion? Is happiness a pleasure? Is it the absence of pain? Is it bliss? What we encourage you to do here is pause and download the workbook, The Discovering Desire. If you're in our signature course, you'll find it in this lesson. But really, like taking the time to ask yourself, what does happiness mean to you? I have a series of questions in there. Those questions started from my book, A Playful Life. They were the questions I asked myself when I went through this book and I tried to think, like, what do I want? What is it going to be that's going to make me happy? What am I chasing? What are times in the past that I've been happy? What would bring that sense of emotional fulfillment? So again, You can hit pause real quick and go do the Discovering Desire workbook and then hop back in. But if you don't have the Discovering Desire book, just stop and think, like, how would you define happiness? What does a perfect day look like? Who do you surround yourself with? What are the things that you would do if money wasn't an object? In his book, he talks about the source of the word happiness is Icelandic. Hap means luck or chance, but that's the same source for the word haphazard or happenstance. And he thought, I don't know if I want to leave my happiness to luck or chance. So he also describes that the aim of the book is not to define or even ask, am I happy? We don't want to make it a black or white statement. Yes, I'm happy. No, I'm not happy. Happiness is more of a spectrum, right? It's not so yes or no. It's really more helpful for us to ask ourselves the question, how can I become happier? And we treat it as a lifelong pursuit. Now, that's pretty much the analogy I use here in Be the Hero or anywhere when I'm discussing happiness and goals and manifestation, especially, is I like to use the 3 points of you're either drowning, your head's above water, you're on an island, or you're searching for more islands. That would be 4. But the idea that, for me at least, I always feel like I'm never drowning. My head's not even above water. I'm always swimming to an island. And the island I get to is amazing, but I never stay satisfied with just that island. We're always searching for another island. So maybe for you right now, if you're used to this feeling of stress, maybe your head is below water and you have all these anchors. And through this course, you're going to discover maybe that you have anchors tied to your ankles that you put there because you thought you had to or that you should. And maybe you're going to cut some of these anchors off of you. And then maybe through mindfulness and through this course, you're going to get your head above water and you're like, oh my gosh, Robin, it feels so good to breathe. But the thing is that because you've been drowning for so long, you think that breathing is happiness. And you're going to discover that that is not happiness, that there is an island of desire that you want to swim to. And through disciplined habits, you're going to swim to that island. Okay, well, you're going to get to that island and be like, yes, this is happiness. And while I want you to be grateful for that island, and I want you to savor every emotion and reward, all the great things that come from getting to the island of that dream, you want to also scan the horizon for new islands. Your life, happiness, should be a series of island hopping from one amazing experience to the next. This week, for example, Gabby and I climbed amazing rock formation in Rocky Mountain National Park called the Shark's Tooth. It was so fulfilling, but we didn't stop there. Then we hiked Mount of the Holy Cross, which is a really beautiful 14,000 foot mountain that you just hike. You don't have to rock climb. And then we rock climbed another formation that is out by Leadville, out by Twin Lakes. And then we're going to go hike another 14er when I'm done recording this. They're all amazing. They're all great. You get to the peak and you think, wow, I did that. That was so cool. But you always look to something else. Now, if you're always looking to something else and never feeling that sense of satisfaction and pride and gratitude, then that's going to create its own series. But hopefully my mountain metaphor and my islands and drowning all start to resonate, and it starts to make sense that we can pursue happiness as a bunch of stepping stones, but being able to be happy in the moment is really what this book, trying to balance future happiness with present happiness, or future meaning with present day pleasure, is really what we're going to be teaching in this course. All right. So I know my face is in the way of this, but there you go. It says importance of rituals. So you ever make a New Year's resolution and it never seems to last very long? That's because we think that self-discipline alone would be enough. But in the book, The Power of Full Engagement, that Tal Ben-Shahar references in here, this book by Jim Loehr and Tony Schwartz, he quotes that building rituals requires defining very precise behaviors and performing them at very specific times. This is the most important part. Motivated by deeply held values is the secret to uncovering and attaining happiness. So, this motivation by deeply held values is something that is really your secret to happiness, because if it's not the right value, or if it's a value that you're not doing from within, there's a good chance you're going to abandon it, that it's not going to be enough fuel on the fire towards what you want. Examples are top athletes that are training because they value performance, or maybe you brush your teeth because you value hygiene. Whatever the ritual is that you establish, we can't just try to do willpower alone or self-discipline alone. We need to find a why behind it. I talk about this in my book, A Playful Life, a lot. If you are in the signature course, you will tomorrow be doing the Values That Serve versus Values That Steal workshop. And in that workshop, Gabby goes through this, but she talks about values that steal. Values that steal are those values that are extrinsic: acceptance, achievement, admiration, affirmation, association, control, comfort, ease, fame, image, knowingness, rightness, money, perfection, recognition, success, validation. Not that you should never have those things, but they will eventually rob you of happiness. They are not going to serve your higher self. And a lot of times, those values that are extrinsic, that steal from us, are very much rooted in our Enneagram programming. So that's why we integrate happiness with values, with Enneagram, and then with purpose and all these other things. Because when you find values that serve, such as, it's a long list, but I'm going to go through it really fast, just to, that way if you're just listening, it starts to resonate. Adventure, exploration, awareness, balance, bravery, challenge, commitment, compassion, confidence, connection, creativity, determination, dignity, discipline, discovery, efficiency, effectiveness, expression, fluidity, flexibility, focus, freedom, fun, growth, health, honesty, integrity, intuition, kindness, knowledge, learning, leadership, love, motivation, optimism, passion, peace, purpose, resilience, simplicity, spirituality, strength, trust, understanding, uniqueness, vision, and wisdom. Whew, that is a long list. And I'm going to tell you that the last 9 years really have solidified my belief in intrinsic values. Almost all the joy that has come from our travel, I can find in one of these words in the Values That Serve. We don't go climb these mountains so that we become famous. We do it because of, I can tell probably a dozen words in there, but number one, challenge, commitment, determination, discipline, discovery, connection with self, connection with nature, simplicity. Our life is really simple because pretty much we just care about creating content to contribute to the world, which is a different goal right here. But contribution is an important thing in finding a value that's intrinsic. But simplicity in our lifestyle, in order to make our life revolve around these amazing adventures. Resiliency, trust is a big thing. When Gabby and I are on ropes, she has to trust me, I have to trust her. Understanding, your mind goes crazy when you're on a rock wall and you're 500 feet in the air and you have one piece of gear between you and the ground. You're really having to notice those thoughts that are coming to the surface of your mind and question them and go, is this truth? So hopefully tomorrow you're going to go through this and really get clear on the values that you might be living by now. And if you find that there's some extrinsic ones, don't beat yourself up, but gradually shifting into values that serve. And the hardest part is that you have to create a lifestyle that aligns with these values that serve. And for a lot of people, if you have lived, let's say you've lived in the same city your whole life around the same people, and you're having the same interactions, you're not creating enough diversity or experiences to help bring out these new values. might be why you need to sign up for a retreat, whether with us or somebody else. But you have to put yourself in new situations in order to discover some of these new values. All right. So, what rituals would make you happier? What would you like to introduce into your life? We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. It's by Aristotle. It's really important that this kind of supports what I just said about stepping into the unknown, creating new adventures, new travel, maybe doing a retreat where we take you outside your comfort zone. Because if you are in the pattern of the known, you're not going to be able to know what new rituals to create for yourself. It's also important that when you introduce rituals, that you're only introducing one or two at a time until they become habits. Okay. To make them habits, this is from Best Life Blueprint. Day one, when you understand what the vision of your future is, and day two, when you start to realize the extrinsic values that you might be living by. Day three is all about putting new values, new habits, new rituals into your day-to-day schedule, into your life. So you got to put them into a planner and actually do them. A Tony Schwartz quote that's in the Happier book says, incremental change is better than ambitious failure. Success feeds on itself. So being able to see your life, see your schedule as something that is a gradual staircase, that's something I really can help you with a lot in Architect Your Dream Life. Because, I think a lot of people, you just weren't raised, and the school system definitely did not help people develop this, but this ability to see a staircase or a roadmap. This is where you're at. This is where you want to get. These are the habits, rituals that need to be established, and this is how you integrate it into your day-to-day life. That's why I work with some people every day, because it's hard for them to not get drawn back into the vortex of the drama and the stress of life, and to stay disciplined to incremental change. And Victor, Gabby, and I have a really great talent at being able to keep people on that staircase. Even if it's just a 1-inch step each day, it does lead to great results in the end. So really think about what those rituals are that you're going to add. Make sure they're in your planner and make sure they become habits before adding new ones. All right. We're almost done with this lesson. One of the things Tal Ben Shahar mentions in the book Happier is like people's rebuttal of, but like, wait, if I'm so disciplined and have all these habits in my life, what about spontaneity and creativity? Robin, I hear you talk about it's so important to be creative. And like, if my whole life is a ritual, where am I going to add spontaneity and creativity? And I think most people are logical enough to understand that it's not about ritualizing every aspect of your life. But if we don't ritualize activities, we don't get around to them. Rather than being spontaneous, we become reactive to others' demands on our time and energy. If you're in the signature course, I'm going to take you through over these 8 weeks in finding this line between self-service or being selfless and serving yourself. Because it's really sad that we live in a world that validates selflessness, but it's usually to your self-demise. And so there's a level of selfishness, self-discipline, self-responsibility that you have to establish. And that's where rituals really come into play and can be so beneficial. Like for me, because we're usually doing so many adventures, I really only get around to doing work once or twice a week. And it used to be that I would do my work, whether it's for nomads for like building Instagram or the blog or emails or creating things on Be the Hero, that I would only get to do it from like 8 to 10 every morning. Well, now with our travel and thunderstorms, I really only have 1 or 2 days a week of recovery to do them. And it doesn't really work for me in the morning because I'm so exhausted from our adventures that I know I have like from say 10 a.m. to 12. Well, that ritual of the work block space is really important for me. But what I choose to do, whether it's record a video or write an email or write a new blog or create Instagram captions, that I stay creative and spontaneous. Where do I feel like showing up today? But the block of time stays ritualized. Or maybe for date night. For a very long time, when we lived in a house from 2013 to 2014, Victor and I had a ritual of that we'd go out for a date every Thursday night. That was date night. And now, granted, we could say, like, hey, we'll go to a different place each night. However, we did tend to go to one restaurant because it was our favorite restaurant. But we could have, sometimes we'd be like, let's just get a bottle of wine and go to the beach. The time and date night was a ritual. What you did with that or where you went was different. Exercise too. You can make it a habit that I work out every morning from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. But what you do in that workout might be different. Sometimes it might be yoga. Maybe sometimes it's interval training. Maybe sometimes it's just stretching or meditation. Finding spontaneity and creativity within your rituals is super important, but setting the rituals in your life is very important if you're on this self-growth journey. So let's do a quick time in. Gratitude. Okay. Tal Ben-Shahar talks about, he quotes Robert Emmons and Michael McCulloch about that. People who write down at least 5 things they are grateful for have a higher level of emotional and physical well-being. In the book, The Secret, I think she talks about doing the challenge of trying to write 100 things you are grateful for. I tried that recently and like I was surprised. It's like crazy how hard it is to go from 5 things to 100 things. But let's start with 5. So you're going to pause for right now and write 5 things you're grateful for real quick. Okay, perfect. So it's okay if you end up in the habit of every day kind of writing the same 5 things, or if there's a tendency for the same 5 things. That's okay. What's most important is that by doing it, you're keeping the emotion fresh in your body. You're re-stimulating. Let's just say oh my gosh, I am so thankful that my kids are with me, that my husband likes to live in this lifestyle. I'm so grateful for my brand new RV. I'm so grateful that I have a body that can hike and climb mountains. And I'm so grateful that you are here and be the hero because I really do want to grow this platform and contribute and make the world a better place for my children. So those 5 emotions, oh man, the sense of love that I have for my children and that they like me and they want to do things with me. My new RV makes me feel so luxurious and comfortable. Having a body that can adventure makes me feel so strong and proud of myself. Having community here makes me feel like I make a difference, that I'm important and invaluable. So all of those emotions of that I just described help you embody gratitude, and that gratitude is going to change your frequency over time. If I did that once a week only, that frequency might come up, right? Remember, we're more spirit than physical being. That might stimulate better frequency in my body, which helps you manifest, right? If you're emitting just like a radio frequency, if you're emitting a low vibration wave versus a high vibration wave, you're going to be law of attraction. You're going to attract low vibration versus high vibration things into your life. If you do it once a week, you're not putting that signal out as much. Guess where the law of attraction is going to be? By doing it daily, those positive emotions emit a higher frequency wave that's going to bring more of that into your life. So don't feel bad if you're saying the same things over and over and over again. We need to experience the feeling. We need to hold that frequency and hold that vibration. If you are in the signature course, that's really what you're going to master towards the end of these 8 weeks is the ability to hold that high vibration, high frequency and not have to work so hard to stimulate it, to bring it to the surface. Okay. And also he recommends do it with a loved one, do gratitude journaling with your kids or your spouse or your best friend. Find people to help you so that you guys are self-perpetuating this emotion. Like, do you ever have friends that you get together with and it's like all they do is wah, wah, wah. My life is so hard. This person did this to me. This happened to me. And it's just like it lowers your frequency, it lowers your vibration. So find people who also want to practice gratitude. I know it's kind of weird to get together and it almost might seem egotistical to get together and be like, oh my gosh, how are you? My life is so great. Heck yeah, I did this and I did that. But find people who you can just share wins with or constantly speak in wins and getting high fives to each other. It will change your frequency and it will make your life better because it stimulates the law of attraction, and that's how you manifest more good things into your life. All right, so to finish out this chapter today, couple just a summary. If you didn't do the time ins, do them now. The time ins are sections that he has in the book that tell you to do journal prompts and self-reflection. So since I'm just presenting, this is not my thing. This is Tal Ben-Shahar's thing that I'm affirming because it was a great book, life-changing book for me, life-changing course, hopefully for you right here. Number one, remember, was to reflect on a couple of personal experiences where reaching a certain milestone did not bring you the emotional payoff you expected. I thought that if I got straight A's, a full ride to college, that would lead me to a career that was going to be so self-fulfilling. I don't think I've ever I shared in, at least in this course or in Be the Hero, that I got that full ride to San Diego State. And I feel like I was so lucky that before I graduated college, I recognized that I'm like, I could totally go be CEO or CFO of a big company, but that's not going to make me happy. And then I went to Victor and I said, hey, will you open a gymnastics studio with me? I think if I was my own boss, I'd be much happier. And that would make me feel more excited to wake up each day. And he answered in his famous words, sure, dear. And that's kind of where our trajectory of our life went there. But there was definitely a moment where I was a business major and I thought, well, of course, I'm going to go be CEO or CFO, and that's going to be the path to success. One of my favorite movies growing up was Baby Boom. And I remember I think that impacted me a lot, that I was like, oh, I could have easily gone her path, but then she really wanted to, enjoy her baby, and she created her own applesauce company. And I really think that that's why we ended up on this path in life. Okay, so number two was, how would you define happiness? What does happiness mean to you? Using that Discovering Desire workbook that I mentioned. Write 5 things you are grateful for. And I believe, yep, that is the end of lesson 1 in the Happier course. If you're in the Signature course, tomorrow you will be doing the values that serve versus values that steal. Don't fall behind. If you're in Happier, I will see you tomorrow with chapter 2. Thanks.